Welcome to the CURES Show, where we explore the cutting edge of wellness. I'm Kara Sundlin. Today we are talking about how to become your own guru and learn to really trust that inner voice by actually using a system. It's a system called Human Design. And I'm joined by Emma Dunwoody. She's a best-selling author and master coach who also hosts the Human Design podcast, coming to us all the way from Australia. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, first of all, what is human design?
Well, human design is really similar to these behavioral and personality profiling tools that we use, like maybe eDisc or Myers-Briggs, that ultimately give us the opportunity to know ourselves as best as we possibly can so we can experience greater success in all areas of our life.
And then how does it work? Is it, I mean, Myers-Briggs, you would take a test, but if you want to know your human design, how do you find that out?
Yeah, so this is actually the thing that can be a little bit out there. So we have to kind of take a bit of a leap of faith because it comes from our birth date and our birth time, but it's actually really scientific. It's a reading that's taken when there's these little things called neutrinos. You can Google them, and there's this big facility in Japan that study them, that basically they are these subatomic particles that move through the universe, and they drop off little pieces of planets and all sorts of things that they move through. And that gives us this blueprint. It's basically an energetic blueprint, just like any other profile, that gives us our map, our energetic map.
And you're a human design coach. So would you would reach out to someone like yourself and they would be able to tell you what your blueprint is?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And in most cases, people are reaching out at a time where they are finding it hard to either make decisions, or they are in a place where perhaps they want to have greater success in their career or heal a relationship or those sort of things. So people would reach out to me to basically find the answers that they're looking for in their life.
So once you do something like this, and I think a lot of people might be more familiar with, okay, I check out astrology or I check out my numerology, but then not give it, as much weight as psychology. But there's also the field of astropsychology where they're combining all of this. So this idea of human design, it may sound woo-woo to people. Tell me why you see it as actually more scientific and effective for really helping us make decisions.
Oh, I love this question so much because I was actually the skeptic. I had a very successful corporate business, working with C-level executives, running leadership programs. And then I all of a sudden came across human design. And like so many people, I wanted to disregard it. However, the big significant difference is that when we do any of these other profiling tools, as you said, we answer questions, which means that we're doing it from the mind and often from the unconscious mind. With human design, we actually get this blueprint without getting the mind involved. And what that means is that we actually minimize a thing that we call the cognitive dissonance. And all that means is it's the gap that all of us carry between who we think we are and who we really are. So what it gives us is this almost like this truth. And the beautiful thing is the moment we actually have a look at our design, we can't deny it because it's all of these things that we kind of feel intuitively inside of us. They're on a piece of paper. And one of the things I hear all the time, every day is, wow, that thing I feel, it's true. So often in career, we will feel like there's something inside of us that wants to be seen or wants to be expressed, but we don't do it. We're afraid. We don't want to be seen. We don't want to get it wrong. But with human design, it kind of gives us this confirmation that, yes, that thing that we feel inside of us, whether we call it intuition, whether we call it spirit, whether we call it whatever we call it, it's this confirmation that, yes, in fact, this is your superpower and it's inside you and it wants to be expressed.
So it's actually a system, human design. And so you would get it much like you would get another report?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it is, the beauty of human design as well is that it's part of this old esoteric wisdom within it. So you've already mentioned astrology, but it's also aligned to quantum physics because it's also our quantum blueprint. So what we would do is we put in our details, or we literally get our chart, and it's going to give us the high level things as any other profiling tool would do it. We call that type. And then we start to understand how we're actually uniquely designed to make decisions. So one of the things with human design is it gets us out of our head and into our body, because actually we have all this innate wisdom that sits in our body that guides us in a much more effective way if we can trust it. It's just that most of us aren't taught to trust it. So as soon as we get our chart, as soon as we get our design, then all of a sudden we can unpick that decision-making process, and we can start to head in a direction that's more aligned to our soul, more aligned to our passions, instead of being in like analysis paralysis or never knowing which decision to make. It's this really freeing experience.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's something that's going to help us connect our heart and our mind, which we always talk about wanting those to be in sync. Do you foresee this, especially after the pandemic, where so many people in the Great Resignation or have been going through so much change? Do you foresee this as a great way to kind of see what is next for someone, that it can help them be empowered to choose something else?
Yeah, oh, I love this question so much, because the simple answer is yes. As you say, after the pandemic, we're all starting to think differently. We can't go back to the old. We have to create something new. And one of the things that human design really helps us do is learn to trust ourselves and our own decisions and our own innate wisdom, instead of relying on someone else or an external authority. So what it really helps us do is to build that trust in our own decisions, build that trust in our own wisdom. And because we live in this time of an immense change and chaos, it also gives us that faith in, like, we can take our own path, or we can make a decision that perhaps we wouldn't in the past, and risk changing jobs, changing careers, doing things differently, because we just have this sense of knowing. And when we trust our design, we continue to get the results that we want, as opposed to feeling like, why does this never work out for me? So yeah.
So give me a little example. I know some people will call this more of a holistic way of analyzing yourself, but if you have this chart in front of you, get a little granular with me. What's it going to say?
Okay, so it's going to tell you exactly how your energy is designed to work. And once you understand that, you can make some significant changes. Let me give you an example. So when I came to human design, I had my kids at home with me. My husband had a big corporate job. I just trained as a master coach, all of these things, juggle, because that was my conditioning. That's what I thought I needed to do. I had to support him until he did his thing. However, as soon as I got my design, I'm like, oh, hang on a second. I'm the one that's meant to have the big job. I'm the one that's meant to be the primary breadwinner. So all of a sudden, everything in our life flipped. And of course, this business and everything that felt like a struggle to me, all of a sudden felt like flow. And my business, my podcast, everything just took off with so little effort compared to how much effort I'd been putting in before. So once we get our chart, the first thing we understand is exactly that, how our energy is set up for work. Are we someone who's like me, who's designed to like dive in, do lots, grow things? Or are we someone who's actually designed to be more of a guide and wise and do less to receive more? So this is where we sort of start, and it's also where we start to understand how our body guides us and how our connection to God, universe, source, whatever you call it, how that communication turns up for us as well. So it gives us our own navigation system as well as how our energy works.
So it sounds certainly esoteric for some, but how was this created, or how long has it been around?
So it's actually really new, and we're in this phase where it's blowing up like crazy because of the results people are getting. You know, that's what I found in my business, where it's only been around since 1987. It was actually channeled in by this, which sounds quite woo-woo. We actually have a lot of wisdom that's being channeled these days. It's just that we don't talk about it because it's woo-woo and we don't want to put people off. But the thing is, it's very, very mathematical. So everything with it is scientifically proven because it's all in the maths. It's all how all of these different wisdoms come together mathematically. So it's actually very stable, very sound, although very, very new. So yeah, it's definitely taking off these days.
Yeah, I'm looking a little bit, these are some of the archetypes. I don't know if I'm using the right word. Would it be an archetype? But these are some of your energy types, I guess. A manifestor, you might be the fire starter, a manifesting generator. So you're a multi-hyphenate. Yes. I guess you do lots of things. That's a new term people are using in the business world. A generator, that's the life force. projector, you're the seer. Reflector, you're the shapeshifter. I wish I would have done my chart before I talked to you. I don't know what I am, but.
I know. I wish we'd done your chart too. I would have loved to have seen that, but I bet you're either a generator or a manifesting generator. And yeah, these types, like any other personality or profiling tool, it really gives us an idea fundamentally of how our energy is set up. So often with manifestor types, let's say, they can be too busy people pleasing when they're actually they need to be different. They need to stand out. They need to be very unique, so that those of us who want to be inspired by you want to be lit up. Because people like me, who's a manifesting generator, I get inspired into action. And once I'm inspired into action, well, watch out, because I'm going to build something big. I'm going to get really passionate. I'm going to be really enthusiastic and have loads of energy. And then, of course, we have people like projectors. And projectors are these beautiful guides who just see how energy works. And then the reflectors are really showing us how our particular community or group are really thriving or surviving in life.
So I guess a lot of this can be done online, hence why if you're listening here in Connecticut or elsewhere in the United States and you're saying, well, okay, Emma's in Australia, we don't do human design here in the United States. In fact, there are, as I do a quick Google search, there's a lot out there about human design. If someone wanted to get their chart done, what would they do?
Yeah, so that's actually super simple, and most of my audience is in the US, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
You can go to many websites, mine being one of them, which is emmadunwoody.com, and just put in your details and get your free chart. And we're going to actually send you all the details of your chart. And we actually help you guys integrate it as well to make sense of it. One of the things for me that I believe is really important, and of course it's in my human design, is I want to make everything super simple for people so it can be integrated. Because otherwise, what's the point of having these things if we can't actually use them, you know? So yeah, that's probably the best place to find your chart.
Okay. And you host the Human Design podcast. And talk a little bit about that if you're wanting to listen. I know you've gotten more than 1 million downloads now. So we talk about what our types are and then how we can make life work better.
Yeah, I love that. So when I was going through the really challenging time in my life, I felt like I didn't have any accessible resources. So what I've done with the podcast, between being able to get your chart for free on my website, you can literally just go straight to the Human Design podcast. There's an episode that says start here. So just start there, and it's going to take you through your type, then your strategy, then your authority, then your profile. It's going to take you through each part of your chart so that you can get to know it. Because one of the challenges with human design is it is very complicated. And oftentimes out there on the internet, there's a lot of language, there's a lot of words, there's a lot of memes, but it can be hard to integrate. So I've set up the podcast in a way that I've made it super simple so that you can understand it, integrate it, and actually get results in your life, living more in alignment with your design.
So I know you came from the corporate world where it's often used Myers-Briggs and other tests like that. I mean, do you foresee that this has some application in that mainstream corporate world? Are any companies actually using human design yet?
Yes, they are actually. And yes, I do see a massive, I think it's going to be super powerful in the corporate world, because human design doesn't just talk about the individual, it also talks about how we all work together. I had a very successful advertising career, for example, but when I was within the team, I always felt like I was never heard. What human design helped me understand is that I'm actually my design is an alpha. So I sit outside of the group, I lead the group, I do these things. So yes, absolutely. One of my corporate clients also, she had this goal. She wanted to be a CEO in 8 years. 3 years later, we were celebrating over a glass of bubbly as she got her first CEO role. And it was because she was in alignment with her design. As opposed to a lot of these other tools that we use, we're making huge assumptions. We're trying to put people in boxes where, you know, then as the individual, we're trying to change ourselves to fit the role. Whereas with human design, we're calling everything to us. We're living to our strengths. We know where we're going to shine and where we're not going to shine. So, and human design also has an arm, it's called BG5, that is predominantly, or at least completely, designed for the corporate world. So it's actually already being integrated into a lot of businesses, especially in the States. One of my dear friends works with a lot of corporate businesses. So yeah, I believe, for me personally, my mission is to take it mainstream so that we can have as much impact and change as possible.
And that's really your background. I know you've done coaching, behavior personality profiling, neuro-linguistics programming. And there's so many tools out there that people are doing. does it change? Like, would you get your human design done when you're younger and then need to get it done again? Or it's one of those things, because we know we change and we uncover different things as life goes on. I'm thinking, I have teenagers, you know, does your human design change with you, or it's like a one-time thing and then you go from there?
Oh my God, I love this question so much, because as a behavioralist, this was one of the things that bothered me about the taking the questions, because they change, and they're not meant to change. Like, the whole point is you want to understand what's underneath the behavior so that we can align to what is correct for us. Now, with human design, no, it doesn't change. So one of the things that, you know, myself, I also am a parent. I have a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old, and it has been mind-blowing being able to parent my children in alignment with their design, because they are both manifesting generators. So I can teach them exactly how they make decisions. So, and one of the things that's been so powerful is, like, they're both what we call sacral beings. So their gut response is the thing they must listen to. So my kids have navigated so many challenges, like all, you know, preteens and teenagers, but they trust themselves. They trust their gut. And my eldest in particular, he has been through the education system and it just doesn't suit him. You know, this is a story that you hear all the time. It doesn't suit him. So teaching his design and how he can respond to school in a different way has been groundbreaking for him. And it's really given him the opportunity to shine in a world and in an environment, a schooling environment that perhaps isn't set up for him. So yeah, I think it's an incredibly powerful thing moving forward. And no, it doesn't change. It just, it also gives us this ability to understand where we're operating from fear. So that's anywhere that we're going to be holding ourselves back. And then how specifically we can express those qualities in us in a higher expression, and then get the results that we're looking for.
Right, and one of the things you talk about is how to become your own guru. I think those of us who are on that self-healing journey, maybe reading lots of self-help books, maybe working on diet, exercise, meditation, gratitude, all these tools that are out there. How is this different as far as really helping you connect with that inner voice?
Yeah, I love this question. One of the things with human design, when it was first brought into the world, it was brought in and it was very clear instructions that this is an experiment, that what we want to do is we want to take the power out of the hands of the guru, that there's this misconception that there's someone outside of us that knows better than we do for us. So the whole purpose with human design and how we become our own guru is that we're building our trust in ourselves and our connection to God, universe, source, where we're taking out the middle person. We're taking out the ego that has to say, well, someone else knows better. I don't trust myself. I trust them because they tell me that I should. So the way that we become our own guru is that we can see, not only are we confirmed, the thing I hear all the time is, wow, this is like the ultimate permission slip to be me. We're confirmed that those things that we feel on the inside are in fact our gifts, but we can also consistently trust ourselves, because we start to make decisions that get us the results, get us where we want to go. It actually also gives us the courage to let go of the things that we've been holding on to because of our conditioning or our programming or our trauma. So this is where it really puts us in the power seat. And I love this because ultimately it's an experiment. So we can look at our design, we can experiment with it, because ultimately we want to know what's true for us, and anything that isn't, we can let go of, and we can just follow our own inner authority.
Yeah, I'm speaking here with Emma Dunwoody, all the way from Australia. We're talking about human design. And in fact, I think you mentioned that this chart is actually free. If you go to your website, you just enter your information and you would be given a human design chart for free.
That's correct. Yep.
So, and that's Emma, EMMA, Dunwoody, DUNWOODY.com for those who are listening rather than seeing. But how long does it take to get this? And then here's my question. You keep talking about integration. Once you get this, what do you do with it?
Oh, I love this. The first thing you do is you practice making decisions differently. It's really that simple. Let me give you an example. So for me personally, I have a lot of really fast energy, big energy. It seems like I'm extroverted. Actually, I'm introverted. And when I got my human design, the first thing I understood is the way that I'm designed to make decisions is that I have to sleep on it. I have to slow down. And, you know, part of me, my ego was like, no, I don't want to slow down. But the other part of me was like, oh, hang on a second, what happens when I slow down? So I would slow down, I would start making decisions a little bit differently. And all of a sudden I noticed that I was making a lot of more good decisions. I was getting where I wanted to go faster. I was healing my body faster. I was reading exactly the book that I needed to read right before I had the client that needed that information. So when we start, we want to understand our type, our strategy, our authority, and start experimenting with it. And it's super simple.
Yeah, so let's talk about this again. If you want, I know you want to bring human design mainstream. I'm guessing many people have never even heard about this. So talk about how you think we should all be using this and how it could really even help in the employment world, in the corporate world.
Yeah, I think there's so many ways that this can help people. One of the really big topics that we talk about is burnout, because burnout is such a real thing at the moment. And the reason why we burn out is because we continually force ourselves to do the things and be the person that we think we should do or be. And when we understand our human design, we understand how we're actually energetically designed to work. And now, like, one of the gifts, if you like, if there is such a thing from the pandemic, that we have is that we have this ability to start to work differently, have different conversations about how we use our energy. So ultimately, one of the big things for me is I want to bring it mainstream. I want to take it out of the woo-woo arena, because not only in a corporate environment, we're going to have the people who want to lead. Instead of you go into a business and you're like, well, that is the one path, you know, this is the way we go, and it ends at the top with the CEO, let's say. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, not all of us want to do that, but we might think that's what we have to do. So our human design really gives us that permission to go, you know what, I really want to be the specialist that guides everybody, or I want to be, you know, my gifts are actually more around running a team. I don't need to have the title, but I really am passionate about this. So it gives us that ability. Then if we really expand it even more, if we're raising our kids this way, then all of a sudden we are in this world where I'm sure you guys have spoken about the golden rule. There's one of the universal principles is the golden rule: treat others as you'd like to be treated. But human design gives us the opportunity to take it that one step further. Treat others as they're designed to be treated. And then all of a sudden there's a completely different world. Because one of the types, for example, projectors, these are people who are designed to be seen and heard and acknowledged. However, if they don't see and value and acknowledge themselves, then most other people won't see them, and they end up being really bitter, and their wisdom goes to waste. Like Barack Obama is a projector, right? So this is someone that you want to be listening to. However, if this person if a projector is working their butt off to try and work, you know, get up the corporate ladder and do all the doing, they're going to burn out, and you're going to miss all their wisdom. So human design actually helps us go, okay, cool, I need to get off everybody else's path, get on my own path, and then allow my own natural gifts to come to light. And when we go further into the chart, it gets really nuanced into what specifically they are. For example, for me, I have a thing called a line 5, and in a particular part of my chart. And what that means is that my purpose is largely fulfilled through the voice. And of course, like, once I followed my design to my podcast, and I always joke, it has a life of its own. It just does its own thing. And again, because it's in alignment with my design. So it's easy and it's effortless. So the more that we're in alignment to our design and we understand others, whether it's our intimate relationships, whether it's the people we work with, then all of a sudden we see the world differently. We see it as people are, not us projecting a version of ourselves onto those that we work with.
So you brought up intimate relationships. How would human design help you in love?
Absolutely. It's really powerful in relationships. I think for me, it's one of the biggest shifts that I've seen, not only personally, but with my clients, because again, so often we're trying to fulfill these conditioned archetypes. Then when we understand our design, we know why. Like, I always joke, I was always like, to my husband, who's a projector, I was always like, dude, I've done all these things. How come you've only done 3? Like, and of course, his energy is not designed to do all the things. Like, I'm literally a non-linear, multitasking, huge amount of energy person that can do a bazillion things at once. Whereas he's actually someone who's so switched on to the nuances of energy. One of the things that bugs him is he will see me running around doing a bunch of different things, and he'll be sitting in the background going, hey, Emma, if you don't do all of that and you just do this one thing over here, you're going to get what you want. You know, so when we start to understand what our gifts are in a relationship, and how even my kids, you know, my kids treat us differently and we treat them differently since human design, because we can trust, like, we want to listen to Dad's wisdom, instead of just ignoring Dad's wisdom. You want to listen to Dad's wisdom because that's what he's on the planet to share with people. And these are the sort of things that we can start to improve relationships, because we're actually playing to each other's strengths as well as playing to our own.
So it sounds like you would advocate that we all get a human design.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as I said, I was the biggest skeptic, but it's really an incredibly powerful way of knowing ourselves and healing every area of our life.
I'm definitely going to check it out, especially because, hey, it's free on your website. So now you've piqued our curiosity. We only have about 2 minutes left. So I want to just, if you could give me a brief description about each energy type. Okay, so let's say you end up being the manifestor. And I know you have a podcast, so if you want to do this, you're going to get into all of it. But you're the manifestor, you're the fire starter. So.
Okay, I love it. So if you're a manifestor, you're someone who initiates people into action. So you want to follow your creativity. You want to follow what lights you up. You want to be that. And you have to be unapologetically yourself, because you have very particular people on the planet that you need to inspire into action. Then we have the generator. The generator, they're here to build something. They're here to, whatever they're inspired into action for, they want to build that. So these are the people that are on the planet to do the work that lights them up. I mean, you can tell with my energy, this lit up energy. I'm passionate, I'm excited, I want to build it. It's easy. Then we have the manifesting generators, which is a combination of the manifestor and the manifesting generator. They are exactly that, but they're non-linear, they're different, they're not meant to fit in. They tend to move a lot faster than a lot of people. They can seem a little bit extra superhuman sometimes, and they're here to build as well, to do the work that lights them up. Projectors, they're our wise guides. They're on the planet to tell us, like, do more of this and less of that. And when we really listen to them, then we can quantum leap. And then reflectors, they're here to tell us the truth of really who we're being and how we're showing up in the world. So listening to the reflectors in our life and really trusting what you see in them, it's giving you a really good understanding of where you're at and how you can grow.
Okay, so the way you're going to get a human design is there are many places I was looking online. We can listen to your human design podcast, but you would go to your website, emmadunwoody.com, and you enter just your birthday?
Yep, and you want to have your time of birth. So it's really important that you have your exact time of birth, your birthday, the city or town that you were born in, and of course the country you were born in, and then all the mathematics can spit out the chart.
Okay, well, I'm going to shout out the name of your podcast and your website one more time in case people want to go and do this right now and get their free chart. Yeah.
Thank you. It's the Human Design Podcast, and it's emmadunwoody.com, and you can find everything that you need. There are so many resources there.
Thank you, Emma. I'm fascinated. Thank you for sharing your time with us on CURES.
Thank you so much for having me.
And everyone, thank you for watching and exploring the cutting edge of wellness with us. If you've ever heard about it, say you heard it here first, the human design. Now you'll probably see it everywhere. If you want more content that inspires the cutting edge of wellness, follow me on social media at Kara Sundlin. We like to share this content there. You can also join the CURES Facebook group. Have a great day, everyone, and be well.